The best-selling car in China is neither a Corolla or an F-150. In 2021, the Tesla Model Y was beat by this.
Wuling Hung Guang Mini EV.
What? You've never heard of it? Neither have I. There, however, it's an electric, super compact car that took the market by storm. A car so popular, so affordable, that it's redefining what it means to be the people's car in China. But behind this success story, there's so much more. Let's talk about how Chinese cars went from unknown to global competition, and why foreign companies face massive import taxes there, and how China's ultra-tight economy is changing the car industry. China, the land of cutting-edge tech, is taking the automotive world by storm. This isn't some overnight success. From economy cars to EVs, China has been on a mission. You can see that from their car sales. The US auto industry sold nearly 3.12 million cars in 2023. Europe altogether sold 12.8 million cars. In China, 25 million. That's the number of cars sold just last year. And we're talking about a market so powerful that every big name in the car world wants a piece of it. But here's the catch. Foreign automakers like BMW, Ford, Toyota don't just waltz into the Chinese market. They face really high import taxes compared to normal domestic makers. Why? Because China's policy is all about strengthening its own market, pushing said domestic brands to the front. And trust me, it's working. These high tariffs give domestic brands like BYD, Geely, and NIO a huge home advantage, forcing international companies to form a partnership if they want in. So why the strict rules? China's obviously got a plan. It's about economic control and self-sufficiency. China isn't just about cars either. It's about scale and very focused strategy. The government doesn't just want a strong car industry. It wants the strongest car industry. That's why they've shaped this hyper-controlled market with rules, incentives, and limits on foreign ownership. Keeping the market closed off to some extent ensures that Chinese companies can grow without that pressure of massive international competitors flooding in. It's not just about the market share. It's about tech independence, economic security, and shaping their future. When we talk about cars in China, one company stands out, BYD. Not only is BYD the top-selling EV company in China, but it's also overtaken Tesla in EV sales. Why? Because they've got everything China loves. Cutting-edge tech, affordable pricing, and government backing. And get this, it's not just cars. They're building an entire ecosystem, including batteries and electric buses, pushing China's dream of being the world leader in electric transportation closer and closer into reality. Ever wonder why Chinese cars are leaping ahead in tech? The answer is quite simple. Massive investment and rapid adoption. China's economy is like a well-oiled machine, with companies pushing tech advancements at a scale few can match. From AI to battery tech, Chinese automakers have gone all in. The government's investments in infrastructure and research has allowed companies like NIO, XPeng, and BYD to experiment, innovate, and launch faster than anyone else. China has 40% of the world's EV charging stations. 40%. And it's growing every day. It's like a whole tech revolution in the car industry happening in real time. And with all the country's data, because of their focus on data collection, China has the advantage of knowing exactly what its customers want, helping it make vehicles more responsive and connected. Doing all these things, China isn't just competing, it's buying up competition. Geely bought a stake in Daimler, the company that owns Mercedes. Some of the ones that were British ones, like MG, is now owned by Chinese SAIC. Geely's also bought out Volvo, making more electric cars themselves, and they've also bought out Lotus, again making the Lotus brand into an EV maker. A terrible thing for Lotus, but it's happening.
Some issues associated with environmentalism, and we're seeing one of them right now.
These acquisitions give Chinese companies more expertise, access to international markets, and a chance to learn from the best. It's definitely a power move, plain and simple, aimed at making Chinese companies not just national players, but global contenders. These Chinese car brands are going international. From Europe to the Middle East, Chinese cars are becoming a staple in these markets. Why? They're much more affordable, packed with tech, and increasingly reliable. Let's back up a second to the
Wuling Guangmin EV.
for a moment. This tiny vehicle is a bestseller because of three things. Affordability being the best of these three things, followed by the amount of range and tech you get for that price. That price being less than $5,000 on release, by the way. And today it's around 7 to 8 grand fully loaded this year with the release of their 5-door model. This cute car got so popular during the first year of release that it overtook both the Model 3 and the slightly taller Model 3 by a lot. China does this and a lot more through their strict economic nationalism. I'll be frank, first time I've ever heard that phrase, so here's what it means. Everything China does is from and for China and nobody else. By sticking to that, they lower production costs and ultimately, with the government's backing, the automakers in China get to innovate and produce better and cheaper cars, and as a result, boost their economy. This also means that foreign companies get taxed more if they import cars into the country in order to sell them. Obviously, plan B for them is making the cars in the country itself, but that's normally due to a joint venture partnership rather than fully owning it. Tesla is the only exception, with having 100% stake in their Gigafactory in Shanghai. The rest, like BMW, Ford, and Volkswagen, have a majority stake as of 2024 in their respective joint ventures. It's basically a win-win for China. By having massive and seasoned manufacturers join them like Ford and VW, they get to dip their hand in the tech they hold and improve their vehicles as a result of that, in addition to new jobs with the creation of a new partnership. Let's talk tech for a moment. You've all seen the jumping car by Xiaomi this year. Maybe you lot remember the anime girl on the infotainment system on the Grand Tour. Nani? All of this innovative tech is done using two major strengths: scale and data. Data they have a lot of, since they have the largest number of internet users in the world, as well as actually it's more than half of the world's cameras, surveillance systems. Anytime anyone does something like charging an EV, it feeds the system, making it better by the second, and there are 1.4 billion people. For scale, let me give you an example to better explain that. Between 09 and 22, China exempt upwards of $29 billion from companies like BYD and NIO in an attempt, a successful attempt, to boost EV production. And from 17 to 23, China's EV exports surged 13,000% to 42 billion. 42 billion, by the way, that's in 2023, making China, just China, account for nearly 70% of global EV production. All of these innovations, investment into the industry, and scaling has definitely paid off, seeing as we're seeing more and more Chinese cars on the road all over the world. China's dominating in countries where there wasn't even a single popular Chinese car a few years back. Just a few years back. If that doesn't tell you that China is leading the market right now, I don't know what will. To all the other seasoned car manufacturers in the world that came from the 1800s and 1900s, step your game up.